lot of people still tuning in, but we'll just admit people as they go.
Okay.
Just like to welcome everyone back to another JPD session. Thank you for tuning in with us. Let me still admit people. I'm sorry, I'm going to work with two hands at the same time. But we do have our special guest today. We have Ms. Val Moore from the Kelley Schoolhouse here, going to be telling us a little bit about some of the stories that she's had, a little bit of her experiences, and what it's like teaching down at the schoolhouse. If you don't know Val, I'm sure she'll go over all her life, everything that she's done, which is she's the most awesome person, as Colonel Trumbull kind of alluded to earlier. So she's also famous for creating the spider gouge. So anybody down there that's gone to the schoolhouse and that memorized that whole packet, you can go ahead and thank her for passing our check rides because of her. So thank you, Val, for that, of course. But Val, we want to welcome you. We love you. We hope that we get you as an instructor every single time we go down there to Kelley. Everybody does, I guarantee that. So I guess we'll just start off by just asking you to introduce yourself, give us a little bit of background about flying and a little bit about your career.
All right. Well, thank you. And thank you, everyone, for attending. I saw the comment there, go Steelers. Absolutely. I'm just happy Roethlisberger is going to stay around for another year. So otherwise, I might have to go play, right? So anyway, my name is Val Moore. I'm a SimStar instructor here at Kelley Lackland Air Force Base. Right now, I'm also what's called the SME, subject matter expert, which means that I try to fix some of the courseware. So inputs are always welcome. I know it always can use an improvement. My background is that I started off at pilot training at Williams Air Force Base in Phoenix, which was a great place to be, but unfortunately it closed down. But I was there for 3 years or 4 years as a FAPE, first assignment, instructor pilot in T-38s. And then I went on to be a super FAPE at Randolph Air Force Base in T-38s. And after that, I did the T-43, which is the navigator trainer, a 737 at Mather Air Force Base, which once again closed. So I'm starting to see a trend here. A lot of these bases are closing. After Mather, honestly, I didn't know what I was going to do. And I was jogging around Perimeter Road in Sacramento and the sun got blotted out by something. I looked up and it was a Travis C-5. So I thought that's a sign from God. So I know what I'm going to do next. I want to fly C-5s. So I asked for C-5s. I went to Dover because my parents lived in Pittsburgh and I wanted to be close to them. So I was very happy to go to C-5 to Dover. And I really loved it. That was probably my favorite assignment of all time. After Dover, I thought, well, how can I stay in the C-5 for the rest of my life? I said, well, I'm going to go to the reserves, right? Well, my boss, he said, well, Val, we're going to put you in for school and residence. You'll never get picked. It's your first year of eligibility. And he put me in. I came back from a trip to Kuwait and it said, congratulations, you're going to Leavenworth. Now, for those of you who know me, you know that eventually I was going to end up in Leavenworth anyway, right? So, but it was the other side of Leavenworth, fortunately, the Army school. I spent a year there, and then I spent a year with them and 3 more years in the Joint Staff with the Army, believe it or not. And then I was asked what I wanted as an assignment after that. And of course, I asked for C-5s back to Dover because I just absolutely love the Galaxy. There's only 2 types of pilots and crew in the world, people who've been on the Galaxy and people who wish they'd been on the Galaxy. And I'm proud to be people who have flown and been on the Galaxy. After my second Dover assignment, I was asked to go to AMC headquarters, where, believe it or not, I worked at PSYOP nuclear shop. Strange being an airlift pilot, but I learned a lot and it was a lot of fun. I got deployed with the Marine Corps. And then my last assignment was a pit instructor T-6s at Randolph. And then, of course, from there, I went to SimStar at Lackland and Kelley. So that's basically everything in a nutshell, 24 years of it. Of course, my favorite assignment is a C-5. Those of you who've met me know that is, I always say that all the time. People who haven't flown the C-5s, it's just because they didn't finish high enough in their pilot training class to get a C-5. I tell that to the fighter guys all the time. So I've really enjoyed teaching down here. A lot of great students coming through. We're really, really crammed right now because of the COVID delays and the snowstorm. So a lot of our instructors are working really hard to get the student training done. We're hiring, by the way, just FYI, throwing that out there to anyone who doesn't still have a 4,000-year active duty service commitment. Please consider joining us down here at Lackland or Kelley. That basically sums it up. Do you guys have any questions? I'd really like to hear about the Heritage flight, where they went, and who was on the crew.
Yeah, we'll just open that up for, I think we have young Lily out here I think some of the other ones are either on missions or they're getting
Okay.
back from crew rest. So Lily, would you like to pretty much talk about your experience with the Heritage Flight and what you guys did on it?
Hello. Sorry if it's a little loud. I just got back from a trip, so enjoying that post-mission crew rest. But the Heritage Flight was awesome. So we had, trying to think, 15 crew members. And we were hacking the Mish, went up to McCord first. And then from there, we went to Hawaii. So of course, our girls trip had to take us to Hawaii. But it was just an awesome experience. About a week and a half prior to that, we had an all-girls local. And we had the reserve 312 girls and us. And we did a 5-hour local and then our mission. But both of those were just so awesome. Seeing everyone come together. Well, before that, I'd only ever flown with a max of 3 girls, and myself included. So having every single girl fill every single position was just incredible. We had training going on and we were learning so much, but just the fact that it was all, you look around and everyone like looks like you, and you don't really realize that that's even a factor until that's the case. But it was so awesome just seeing everyone just do their job, and it didn't matter gender or not. We were just out there just hacking the Mish like usual. I think that was the coolest part, was seeing everyone just do their job and like not even thinking about the fact that gender was a thing. And then from there, we just came back after a few Mai Tais and we had some fun.
Outstanding.
And thank you so much, Val, for joining us and talking about your experience. You are definitely a legend, and I know that we all look up to you too.
Well, thank you very much. It's very kind. Well, thank you for the information on the Heritage Flight. I'm glad you guys got a chance to fly. We tried to do that back when I first started flying C5s, but believe it or not, we had 5 C5 squadrons and we didn't have enough women in all 5 to generate a crew. So, but that's not unusual. Things have changed over time. I was the only woman in my pilot training class of 56, so it's pretty interesting. But it worked out well. I really love the guys. They were a good group of people.
Yeah, well, just along those lines, I know we're all curious just of what was it like back in back then. I'm not gonna say what time period it was.
You mean back in
What was it
Orville?
like back then?
You mean when I went to pilot training with Orville and Wilbur Wright?
Yeah, what was it like back then? Just being the only one in a lot of these spaces. Of course, you went on to later do some command positions, like in that experience as well as flying.
Well, I mean, things have obviously progressed over time. Believe it or not, I mean, even in pilot training, being the only woman, all my peers, they accepted me as long as I did my job. It wasn't a problem. It was some of the older guys, and I understand it because they were, it was women hadn't been in most of their career, so they were the problem. But it only takes one person in a leadership position who doesn't want you there to be a real problem. Fortunately, there's good enough guys at Williams Air Force Base anyway, so it worked out very well. It was different being the only woman. But then again, I mean, even at the end of my career, when I went to T6s, the squadron commander, he's a great guy. He's a fighter pilot, F-15 guy. And one of the first things he said to me when I went to the squadron, he whispered to me in his office, he says, "Do you know you're the only girl in the squadron?" And I asked him, I said, "Why are you whispering?" So it was pretty crazy, but it worked out well. I mean, I don't let people who, like I said, the older guys, when I first started at Williams Air Force Base, to get me down, because the only pilots that had a problem with me being there were the ones that were weak anyway. They were threatened by me. The guys that were good pilots could care less as long as you did your job. So that's basically how I've tried to, run through my life. But the C5, again, was the best assignment I've ever had, bar none. Had a great commander, Ron Richburg, and that helped a lot.
Yes, ma'am. What are some of your mentors that you went through the process, male or female, just anywhere, especially whenever you got up to like those higher ranks, where you started looking for senior?
Colonel Ron Richburg, General Dick Bundy, all retired now. Yeah, unfortunately, Colonel Richburg had a medical issue and he had to retire as an 06. He went to the Pentagon after Dover, but I kind of wish he was able to stay in because he was a great guy. Colonel Steve Nelson, Keith Wilkinson, a lot of really good people. And a good friend of mine in T-38 is Kim Corcoran. She was older than I was, and there weren't too many women before me, but Kim kind of set the pace and everything and made sure everything, took care of me, kind of big sister thing. Worked out well. We're still friends. She just retired as an 06.
Val, what were some of those leadership or just personality traits you found that made them, good mentors, right? We talk about, the pilots that felt threatened that weren't sharp and weren't good, and they felt threatened by you. That makes sense, because they were, quite honestly, they were weak. But what were some of those traits, those personality traits, or just part of their leadership that made them those good mentors that we can look forward to in our leaders today?
Well, I think they were just interested in whether or not you could do your job. They didn't care what race or gender you were. If you didn't do your job, you got in trouble. And if you did your job, then you were rewarded. So I think the trait was just fairness. They looked at people as what they could bring to the squadron and help out. That's all they cared about.
Yeah, Val, we see you're switching up things a little bit. We see your Size Matters shirt that you got on with
Absolutely,
right
size
there.
matters.
We see your shirt right there. We're just curious. Can you just tell us what is your best and most exciting story you have with Fred or with some of your T-38 flying at all?
Well, I mean, believe it or not, the T-38, a great machine. It's really fun to fly. But you're by yourself a lot, or was just one other person. So I think I had a lot of growing up to do when I went from that to like the C5, because C5 you're responsible for so many other people. I mean, it's a real slap in the face. I think a lot more maturity is needed in the C5. I think the C5 offers officers the best opportunity to be leaders because you don't only have to deal with yourself or one student who you obviously have control over anyway. But you deal with an entire crew, so that really develops your leadership. And you do all this while still trying to get all the mission done. Everyone here has been at places where maybe you didn't get the mission support you needed, but you got the job done anyway. And that is all what leadership's all about, is taking care of your crew and getting the mission done at the same time. And that's challenging at times. It really is. So I think that's one of the advantages of a C5. I mean, let's be honest, the hardest thing to do is get your crew out of the hotel on time onto the crew bus. I found that more challenging than flying in Somalia or in the Middle East. So I do think, though, it's more like a family that you fly with in the C5. So it's really a great experience and a great time. I was glad, like I said, to have my T-38 time. It certainly helped for formation and a lot of fun flying. But again, the C5 was absolutely my favorite assignment. I think the best mission, or the most interesting mission I ever went on, was as a lieutenant colonel towards the end of my career. It was after 9/11, and we were going to Rota, and I only had a guy that had only been in one other flight. It was a basic crew, so easy hop to Rota, no problem. We had some Army guys on the back. I remember before we left, though, I insisted with maintenance that we get another 30,000 pounds of fuel. And of course, they argued back because that's what they do. And we got our extra 30 because I was a lieutenant colonel, probably. But we got the 30,000 pounds. And en route to Rota, we couldn't get a weather update or anything like that. As it turned out, Rota was mogged out, which meant there were too many airplanes there. And then again, that's not a problem. So we would decide we'll divert to Marone, which is real close. And Marone was out of limits for winds. So where are we going to go? We decided to divert to Mildenhall. So we started our climb up. And the whole time I'm thinking, here I am flying with this kid that's only been on one other flight. I'm going to really be flying solo here. And that was not the case. So whoever did their training at the time, it was Altus, did a fabulous job, because that kid held it together and was really a benefit and a part of the team to get that mission done. So en route to, actually in the en route descent into Mildenhall, Mildenhall called us and said, we know what you have on board and you're not bringing it here. So I was like, well, heck, I'll just go back to Dover, because I got tons of gas. So what we decided on, we diverted to Prestwick, believe it or not. I'd never been there before, but I mean, it was not that much of a problem. Like I said, that my co-pilot did a great job. And while we're on final, I'll never forget the look on his face. The winds were so bad. And I mean, I was doing the landing that I was looking out his window for the crosswinds. And he just calmly turned and looked at me and said, "Is it always like this?" And I said, "Pretty much." And he goes, "Okay." And he turned around and he just went right back to his job. That was fabulous. So we landed at Prestwick and they took care of us and everything was fabulous after that. But I think that was probably the most interesting mission that I've had. It didn't involve a very large crew, but there are challenges in all sizes of crews at all times. But everyone worked together to get the mission done. And it worked out very, very well.
Yeah, Val, you seem to be doing such a good job this whole time with teaching younger members, especially coming into larger airplanes. The first time I flew the C5 come from the T1, was like, how on earth am I going to move this airplane that when I just moved maybe a plane that was a 20th of the size, maybe, I don't know. But just want to talk to you about, you always bring that positive energy coming, whatever briefings or classes or whatever we have down at the schoolhouse. How has teaching been for you, and how long do you plan on thinking you're going to do it?
Until I hit the Powerball, probably. But no, I'm going to do it until I just don't like it anymore. And I certainly enjoy still doing it now. Like a lot of my time is diverted right now into trying to work with the courseware. The good news is that we're slashing and burning, and you'll probably all really like this more than anything, the CBTs, the computer lessons. Yay, we're slashing and burning because they are just page turners at this point. Some of the things for the future that we've discussed with the 733rd are that we're going to use the iPad for a lot of the training, a lot of hands-on to get rid of the CBTs, and also videos as well for pre-flight type items across all crew positions, so that you don't have to necessarily be in front of a computer in our lab. You could be with your iPad or at your computer at home with a login and do some of the training there and review it at your leisure, even after you're qualified, just to get refreshed on the material. So that's hopefully where we're heading towards. We're also, like I said, the hours are pretty killer down here right now because we only have one sim. Excuse me. We are getting the new mods down to the sim, which are the radar and some other software upgrades. And that is going to take our sim down probably for about 4 more months at least. So it's difficult for these strange hours, as we get older and older. But the strange thing is I'm one of the youngest people here at SimStar. And so that's why I'm recruiting if anyone needs a job. Just saying. We need the younger blood in here as well. But I've always really enjoyed teaching a lot. I guess that's why I volunteered to be a FAPE, first assignment instructor pilot in T-38s, because I enjoy teaching. Going to Pitt, pilot instructor training as a new lieutenant, and then eventually teaching there. They really teach you how to be an instructor pilot there, and I just really enjoyed it a great deal. So here at SimStar, I enjoy teaching the next generation of Galaxy drivers and the crews. It's a lot of fun.
I have a question.
Sure.
What would you say is your best teaching advice you have as far as like getting your student to be perceptive to your teaching?
I tell them that in any airplane, but particularly the C5, I'm going to teach you a variety of techniques, but it might not work for you. So I always welcome other instructors to come in. If I have a student that can't necessarily get the concept, I have someone else come in and see if their technique works. Because unless it is procedure, like I tell the guys with air refueling, because they're worried about, is my seat too high? Is my seat too low? I don't know how people can air refuel with their hands up here, but some of them do. I tell them, I don't care if you refuel with your butt cheeks. If you get gas, okay, and you're safe and you do the mission, that's all that really matters. And so I try to be as flexible as possible and let them be at ease. I don't want them to feel like any of the training is an evaluation, and one thing I did learn from Pitt is that I saw a lot of the, not all, but a lot of the fighter guys, their methodology for instruction was screaming and yelling at people, even when they were doing well. And that was really strange. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't do well if I'm trying my hardest and people scream and yell at me. Maybe it's because I'm a woman. I don't know. But you ladies know, we hold grudges. So we remember those people who did that to us, and we'll get them back eventually, right? See, all the guys that are married know what I'm talking about. But really, it's about teaching the person and offering as many techniques and remember, treat people as you want to be treated. Remember what it was like to be a student. I think that's important. I see that people forget that a lot, especially at pilot training and at Pitt. They're like, well, anybody knows how to do that. Well, no, they don't. That's why they're here and for training. So you have to remember what it was like to start out. And then just treat them like you wish to be treated when you was a student. I'm sure everybody here remembers instructors that they had in the past or their unfortunate friends did. And they were like, God, I hope I don't get scheduled with that person to fly. You don't want to be that person.
Yeah, I agree. Right now, we'll just open it up for if anybody has any questions for Val, please go ahead and ask. I think we're coming up on our time just a little bit, but we'll open it up real quick. And then if not, I'll ask you one question, then we'll
Sure.
get out of here, Val.
No problem.
Oh, we got a hand up.
Yo, Val, it's Cody Morgan.
Hi.
Question for you
Sure.
is for like expectation management, right? There's some things coming down on the VML that people really don't want to get for airplanes and stuff. And I'm sure you going to Leavenworth wasn't your first choice. So how do you set yourself up for like expectation management and like the disappointments and, you know, doing the whole Air Force thing of growing where you're planted?
Well, what I found out is even though I thought I wanted to go to the reserves and I ended up going to Leavenworth, it actually turned out to be a really great thing. I mean, it worked out. I learned a lot more things. I find that I was always comfortable, as most people are, with staying in your own little niche, which you're happy with. So like I said, I wanted to stay in C5s forever and just stay there. But that would have prevented me from developing further as an officer and as a person by getting out of that comfort zone and going to do other things. So many things I learned about the Army is thank God I joined the Air Force. I was really happy to be in the Air Force. I think the Army is probably a little bit behind us in many aspects, but I made a lot of great friends there and I learned a lot, believe it or not, things that I hadn't known about the Army. And when you're going to be a senior officer and you're going to be working in joint jobs with people from other services, it really helps if you have a perspective of what they're dealing with. And if you've only spent your entire time in one airplane or in one system, it's hard to try to understand what they're talking about when you have to go through just something as simple as the lexicon to see what they're talking about. So I think that you have to get depth and breadth if you're going to be a senior officer of many other areas. I've thought that some of the assignments I really fell into, the 737, I just fell into that assignment. The Leavenworth, I fell into that, but it all turned out really great. Why? Because I ended up back in C5s. I was happy. After C5s, my second time, I wanted to go to AETC, but I ended up going to AMC headquarters. And at first I was like, oh, good grief, I don't want to go up there. But you know what? It turned out to be a fabulous assignment because I worked with great guys, and General Brady up there was fantastic to work for. I learned a lot. I was in, like I said, the nuke shop, which really has nothing to do with C5s, but I learned so much first from STRATCOM and things like that I think it made me a better officer, more well-rounded. So something that you initially take as this isn't what I wanted to do, it was bad. For at least in my case, I can say that it turned out for the good, even if I didn't recognize it at first as such. I hope that answered your question. And I hope it works out for you, Cody, wherever you want to go.
Well, I'm actually going to NJEP. I was a T6 FAPE, and I'm going back again.
Do you want to go back?
To be honest, not at first, but now we are really looking forward to it. Our family, like we're super stoked for it. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's good. You're going to be responsible for teaching people how to fly. You know what? You want people who want to be back there. If you're going to be an instructor pilot in pilot training, you don't want to send people back there that don't want to be there. It's too important of a job.
Cool, Lily, I think you had something.
Yes, I have another one.
Okay.
What would you say was your hardest job or assignment, and how did you navigate that time or try to turn it into a positive?
Well, I would think that it was my job when I went to AMC headquarters. I thought, or I was told at least, I was going to be chief of Pacific plans for airlift. So, you know, joy to my heart. I was thinking, great, all these, this is before Zoom, of course. Great, all these meetings in Hawaii, I can hardly wait. You know, I've always wanted to go up to the North Shore and see those big monster waves and everything. And no, when I showed up, my boss said, we're going to send you to PSYOP. Now, being with the Army earlier, PSYOP was psychological ops. So I said, oh, psychological ops, that could be fun, you know? And he goes, no, you idiot, PSYOPs, single integrated operations plan, nuclear, you know, and I was like, what? I said, well, I'm not a tanker driver. He goes, have you seen a tanker? Have you flown behind one? I went, yes. So there I was in PSYOP. So, but you know what? I went there and I was with a bunch of tanker guys, but I learned so much. It was incredible that when you see an entire system of airplanes that you knew nothing about, and you get to work with people that's their expertise. Towards the end of that assignment, I was actually the expert in the field, which was pretty strange considering I'm an airlifter. And so I was pretty happy about it though. And like I said, I was lucky enough to work with really great guys, you know, and had a really good time up at AMC headquarters, which some people do, some people don't. I was very fortunate and had a great boss and a great group, a great team to work with. I've been pretty blessed in that area, you know.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Last question I have about is, what was as you went throughout your whole process in your career, what was your family life like? How did it affect your family and how did you handle everything?
Oh, well, it actually was, I have a great husband and a great daughter. They traveled around. My husband, I met him at Roswell International Airport. Believe it or not, I flew in T-38s. When I was at Pitt, I flew in there for gas because that was a regular stop, a gas and go stop at Roswell. And one day I had an engine fire. We came in there and he was one of the firemen and that was there. And so I when he came up the ladder, he says, you have to get out of the plane. And I said, not until you give me your phone number. So I got his phone number, and then, you know, for like 18 months we were dating. I was flying up to Roswell. Even my ex-students would see my plane there and say, are you broke? Can I help you? Can we get you out of Roswell? And I was like, no, I'm fine, thanks. But we got married in 1990 and been married ever since. He sacrificed his career and moved around for me. And after a while, like I said, I retired eventually because, you know, we got tired of moving, frankly. And my daughter was getting older and couldn't be moving around from all these schools. And of course, we had, as most of you know, we have a lot of dogs and horses, and we've collected pets as we go. Right now, I got 20 dogs, 4 cats, and 2 horses. So we didn't have that much active duty. Not dogs anyway, but we had a lot of pets and everything that went with us. But he's been incredibly supportive and a reason that I've had such a great career.
Travis, see you got your hand up. Go ahead, Trav.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Lieutenant Park. I really had a good help with your Spider Guide when I was in PIQ, and it's been over 2 years since I went through, almost 2 years since I went through. And during the time, has that been able to be updated ever since?
Yes, I have version 4 out. There'll be version 5 next month. Usually in April and May, I restart a review. Which version do you have?
I got to look at it, ma'am. It was 2019, so I'm guessing it was built in 2018,
Okay,
April, March.
You have one of the older versions then. So at the end of the Spider Guide, there's my email. If you just shoot me an email, please. When I can send you 4 now, and then I can send you 5 whenever I update it in May.
Awesome. Thank you very much, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Yes, that'll actually be huge. I'll shoot you an email so that all our pilots can have it. Well, I'm sure we'd love to have it for, like, especially our check ride setting and everything. Yeah, we need
I'm glad
that.
it helps. You know, it helps us too down here as instructors as a review.
Yeah, I will open it up one last time for anybody that's got any pressing questions about. She's got lots of knowledge that she wants to share, I'm sure. Or you can hit her up whenever you go down to PIQ or whenever any kind of upgrades that you have. About where is your desk just about whenever on the 3rd floor when you go up there? So
Actually, do you remember where the VTRAT room was?
Mhm.
It's on the 2nd floor. I'm a floor above it, essentially. So
Yeah.
yeah, they took the SMEs, the subject matter experts is what we're called, out of the regular pilot office because we weren't able to get a lot of our work done. And right now, a lot of for the SMEs anyway, we're doing a lot of work from home until the COVID thing settles down a little bit more. But my office is still on the 3rd floor. If you just walk around, you'll eventually find me. Just look for the terrible town, the Steeler stuff. That's my office.
Yes, we'll be sure to pop in and give you a ring whenever you do get in there. Thank you for everything you've done for us, especially as students coming through everything. We will be closing it out here. Thank you for your time, Val, for sure.
Thank you very much.
We know
It's been a
we know the
privilege.
draft is tonight too, so hopefully the Steelers do something good today. I'm hoping the Falcons do something good too, so we'll see.
Absolutely.
All right.
Really, it's been fun. Thank you very much. It's been an honor to be asked to do this.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Thank you, Val, so much.
Thank you. You all take care and fly safe.
We'll
Thanks,
do.
man. We'll do that.
Thanks, Val.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Val.
You're welcome.
Thank
Hey,
you.
yeah.